Well, here we go. And as I always do, I always start with well, because it's a deep well where we go with this podcast. We are going to do a deep dive today. And I am so honored and thrilled and excited because this lady that I have as a guest today is not only uber professional in so many ways and beautiful to look at, but she's my niece. And guess what? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Just kidding. No, it's an honor. I have with me today, like I say, the most amazing woman, and you are going to love her and just learn so much from her. So please, I just want to give a little introduction to this wonderful, amazing woman. This lady is Karey Harris. Now, Karey was born and raised on a farm in a small area of Saskatchewan. And she embodies so many gifts, but grit, resilience, and heart. And she's an in school administrator, educator, certified leadership coach, NCCP certified sport coach, empowerment facilitator, speaker, podcast host, and producer. But beyond her impressive titles, Karey is a force of nature, dedicated to helping individuals, teams, organizations unlock their highest potential. And added to her impressive list, as I said, she is my beloved niece, who I am blessed to have had in my life since the moment she was conceived and still to this day. Karey's journey is one of a profound transformation, moving from trauma to triumph by shattering limiting beliefs, trusting her inner wisdom, and claiming her power. She has rewritten her story, and now she's passionate about helping others do the same. Karey doesn't shy away from the truth. She brings raw honesty, authenticity, and heartfelt connection into every conversation. She leads with laughter, delivers that gut punch of truth when needed, and inspires people to take bold action toward a life they truly love. Whether Karey's empowering the next generation of leaders or guiding someone to reclaim their inner strength, Karey shows up with unwavering presence and purpose. So get ready to be inspired, challenged, and deeply moved because Karey Harris is here to remind you that you are more powerful than you have ever imagined. So, lady, welcome.
That was an introduction. Beyond humbled, and I'm glad I'm sitting down because I was like, wow, who are you talking about?
Well, take a bow because I'm talking about you.
Oh,
So,
I'm so honored and so grateful to have this conversation with you. And yeah, I know we have lots to talk about and lots of things to share, but I want to thank you for that introduction. That was very heartwarming to say the least.
well, you deserve it. You
Oh,
deserve it. And, I just want to let my audience, which is now your audience as well, know that, they will have access to you through, the promo that I put out as well as, promo to listen to your podcast, which is brilliant. I love it. I love it. It's great. So,
thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely, sweetie. I want to, ask you a couple questions and starting with, growing up as you did on a farm in small town Saskatchewan, w- what values and lessons did that lifestyle instill in you?
Oh my gosh, so many. And I was thinking about that today. Like, definitely who I am, I would not be without growing up on the farm. And when you're a teenager, you don't want to
Mhm.
be on the farm because all the cool kids are in town. But
Right.
when I look back over my life, I am so grateful that that is how I was raised and that those are my roots. I mean, you don't come from hard work and determination and resilience and, family and community, that didn't happen by accident. I mean, that's how we were raised. It was
Mhm.
all about, family and community, but also just whatever's in front of you, you deal with it because it's your responsibility to deal with it, whether that's, good, bad, or otherwise. And
Right.
it's wholesome. It's learning about how life really works, and you don't really appreciate that when you're young. And now when I look back, I'm like, wow, so many foundational principles of life that I was able to get from growing up on the farm, and with the experience I had, with my dad being a farmer, but also just the lifestyle, right? I mean,
Right.
we were we could be wild and free out in the country, and we had to create our own joy and come up with our own ways of entertaining ourselves as kids. And yet, you're always surrounded by life and by nature and by that cycle. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful for the way that I was brought up. It's
Mhm.
a great thing. It's a great thing.
Mhm. Absolutely. Can you share, pull out of your hat, even though you're not wearing one right now, but, on your podcast, I love that hat that you have for your I just love it. Can you share a childhood memory that, shaped who you are today?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I think one of the things that really stands out to me is about, and probably why I'm a teacher. It's funny because I would never have thought that it would be my dad that would be probably one of the people that helped to shape me into a teacher type of role, even though, yes, I do believe I was born with that gift. But the thing is, dad was always a teacher. So when I think back to my childhood,
Mm.
everything that we did, even if it was fun, there
Mhm.
were teachable moments. There was
Oh,
always a reason for why we were doing what we were doing. And I think back to, like, many nights, community, family, neighbors, we'd get together and we'd go snowmobiling.
right.
But dad would always teach us, what are the safety mechanisms that we need to think about when we're going snowmobiling? This is why we leave the distance in between the snow machines. This is why we're going here. This is the tracks in the snow. These are the animals that you need to look out for. Like, there was always a teachable moment.
Mm.
And I think that really shaped, who I am and who I was at that time. And like I said, sometimes you're like, come on, dad, I don't want to learn about that right now. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, those were the best memories as a kid, just getting
Mhm.
outside, getting to do what you want, and, having your dad or your parents there to sort of help guide you. I think too, just childhood memories of, well, like I was saying at the beginning, just where you get to be creative, so much now that, everybody's so programmed now into how they should play and how they should experience the world. We didn't have that. I mean, we had our bikes and we had the dirt road. And we had our neighboring, friends, and I think those are the best memories where we as kids got to create what we
Right.
wanted to create. We had to use our imagination. We had to come up with the fun on a Sunday afternoon, and if we didn't have the games or the toys, then we made up our own. Like, it was play, it was joyful, it was fun, and I think, those are some of the big highlights for me. And, having to tough it out, I was surrounded by a lot of boys in the neighboring farms, and
Mhm.
I was the only girl, so listen, I had to hold my own.
Right. Which leads me to my next question. I was gonna ask you what were your earliest ideas of strength and resilience, and how have they evolved?
I'm not sure it's something you really totally think about when you're super young. It's just you're doing life because that's what you're doing.
Right.
I definitely saw strength, in the community that we had in the neighboring boys. Yeah, they were tough and gruff. And at the same time, it was like, I'm not going to give in. If you want to do an arm wrestle here, I'm going to take you on too. So the strength at the beginning was probably more physical strength that I guess you think of. But when
Mhm.
I look back, I also think of, the coach that I had when I was training rhythmic gymnastics, and the strength then defining that strength meant something different to me later because
Right.
she was a woman that, defected from Czechoslovakia, from a communist country, had come to Canada, starts up this rhythmic gymnastics club that became such a big part of my life. Then it was like, wow, strength. And I remember traveling with her, and, we were on a plane in Germany, and the fear that was in her. And then I watched her, how strong she was,
Mm,
facing what could be on that flight.
right.
Maybe I'm not gonna make it back to Canada, or maybe I'm not gonna make it out of Germany. So I think your definition, at least for me, it started to take hold and to shape differently based on my experiences. And then I started to realize that strength isn't just, physical quality. It's something so internal and so ingrained in us. And yet the combination of the two, when they mold, you're
Mhm.
unstoppable,
Right.
you're really strong.
Mhm. And, you've spoken, about, you know, like I mentioned in your opening bio about, moving from trauma to transformation. So can you share a pivotal moment when everything shifted?
Many times. And I think that's part of, like, for me personally, is the transformational aspect. It's like you uncover different things, and then you take a leap, and maybe you land where you think you're gonna land, and you think that's pretty good. I've
Mhm.
changed, I've transformed, and then you go a little deeper and something else happens in your life and you realize, oh my gosh, like now I'm really stronger, and this is really how I need to transform. So I think it ebbs and flows,
Mm,
and in terms of pivotal moments, there's many. I mean, later on in life, going through, divorce and, losing my mom, like all of those things happened at once. I had health issues going on. Both my
mhm.
kids moved away all at the same time. That was within 3 months.
That's
Like,
pivotal.
and it was super pivotal.
Yeah.
So, that's the sort of the gloomier, darker side of, like, how much a person as a human being can go through in a short amount of time. But I
Mhm.
for the course of my life, it's transformation happens for different reasons at different times. It's the person that knocks you on the shoulder and taps you and says, "Hey, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about this career? Have you ever thought about this?" And you go, "Oh," and then you start to make those changes.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
those have happened throughout my life so many times, Collie, where it's like there's the signs, and then there's the times when you didn't see any of the darn signs and you had 4 things fall apart in order for them to fall together in your life later.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those times, I mean, obviously that was a huge weight, right? Of almost, I'm sure. I'm not going to put this in your mouth, but what I'm thinking here is, were those times that you just talked about, the things going on in that time, your mom, your health, divorce, kids moving, that. I mean, when that weight of your past, because it is there now, the past, I mean, it must have felt impossible to carry. So how did you move through those moments? How did you get through that?
Yeah, I think and I feel and I know to be true that it really is about taking things one step at a time. Initially, you don't have any other choice but to go through it because
Mhm.
it's there. You can't, I knew that I wasn't going to deny and not to feel and not to just, for the weirdest way that this sounds, like embrace the
Mhm.
bloody hell that I was going through.
Right?
Because if you don't, the choice isn't good, right?
Yeah,
You're either
exactly.
choosing to go through it or you're choosing to give up. And there was no way that that was going to happen to me. So I just made the decision. And I think that's what it starts with is you get to decide. You get
Mhm.
to decide how you deal with things that come to you and they come for you. And so I just decided this is all on me and now I need to figure out a way. And sometimes it was, pushing too hard and trying, and I use
Mhm.
that word quote unquote, trying to force things to happen. And I learned to just, sit back and let it unfold and at the same
Right?
time take action. So it was intentional. I started more time with myself, which was uncomfortable at first. It was meditation. It was looking for the things that I was grateful for each and every day, despite what was going on. It was making those choices every day to show up, even when I didn't feel like it. It was taking action for, what my health was looking like and just taking a real, what I call an inventory of my life and going,
Mm.
yep, some things really are changing. Some things have to change. And how are you going to get through this? And to just go really deep. Like there were many nights on my knees, either praying, crying, punching the pillow. And I'm being as honest and real as I can be. That was not easy.
Oh,
But
no.
holy, when you come out the other side, the strength and what I learned about myself and what I learned about life, not anything other than grateful for that all those things happened, which are all not positive things. When you list them on a piece of paper, somebody would look and say, well, how can you be grateful that
Mhm.
your mom passed away and that you went through a divorce and your kids and your health? Because it's what it was supposed to be, and because I wouldn't be who I am without that happening,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Exactly. So what part of, this, your journey there took the longest to make peace with?
Oh gosh, that's a really great question. Probably the peace was within myself. You
Mhm.
know, you I'm an empath, so you put a lot of people before you and you feel what they feel.
Mhm.
And I did that for a long part of my life. And I mean, look at what I do. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
teacher, I'm a coach, I'm an educator, all those
And a
labels.
principal, don't forget that.
Yeah, like, I mean, my job every day is to deal with people's problems, to help them, to support them, to guide them, to empower them. That's what I do every day.
Right.
When I looked, in my own internal dialogue and my own internal kind of wellness, it was like, geez, I do a lot for other people, but how much am I really giving back to myself?
Mm.
And to come to terms and peace with there were pieces of me that I let go and I let slip away, and I had to find them again. I had to
Mhm.
find, who is Karey? Where's the little girl that used to laugh and giggle and be creative, and where did she go?
Right.
And
Exactly.
and so I needed to figure out how to get her back, and at the same time to find the new version of her, because I'm not the same person I was, when I was a kid, but there's pieces of me in my soul that of course are
Mhm.
who I am. And so I think coming to peace with, where I let myself down and where I gave up on me, where I just really needed to figure that out and to just sadly, like, face that truth, which is really hard.
Yeah,
To face the
exactly right.
truth of, like, nobody else can change that. Nobody else, my whatever was going on with, my marriage, my kids, my family, my parents, that's on them. Like, it was up to me now to make the changes and to just go, nobody else said, "Carrie, give up this or that." I did that.
Mhm.
So yeah, making peace with myself was a big part of that journey for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And in there, I'm very curious to know, was there someone who helped you see your worth when you couldn't see it yourself, when you were going through that?
Mm. Different people, different times, different reasons. And
Mhm. Mhm.
and I was on a search. I was on a quest. And I know your listeners will be open to this. And even if there's listeners that aren't, I just encourage people to find what it is that resonates with you in terms of who can support you, who can guide you, who can help you, and look
Mhm.
for different resources. It doesn't have to only be a counselor. If you need a counselor, then by all means, you find one and you find a
Right.
good one. But I looked for, some alternative methods, I guess you could say. I went to some Reiki masters, I went to healers, I went to life coaches, I went to friends, I went to family like you. I mean, I went to people that I trusted, but also people that kind of resonated with me that I thought, "Hey, this is interesting. Like, where will that lead me?" Because, typically our culture doesn't support healing in more than one way. I think that's changing. I think I see a lot more modalities of healing and, that inquiry, that curiosity. And I
Mhm.
think whatever you can find that fits with you at that time, I'm a big believer in, at the right time, the right teacher appears. And then you take that and then you go to the next level. It's not the same people that I have right now that are supporting me or that I turn to for different things.
Mhm. Mhm. So along that, with regards to going all you went through and going to, the various, different people, places and things, right? What what was the most, I would say, powerful limiting belief you shattered? And what did it feel like on the other side of it?
Yeah, I think this one's just come through a few, like, this one's come through again, is what I'm saying. It's a little bit of a repeat. And so now I think I've got it.
Okay.
It takes you a while to
Yeah.
learn things. And I feel like I'm one of those people that I need to experience a lot of things in order to learn them so I can teach them. So here it is. I am not responsible to fix other people.
Okay.
That one, Collie, blew my mind. And I'll tell you
Mm.
why. I thought it was my job.
Mhm.
I thought it was my job to fix people. I thought that that was my responsibility to
Mhm.
heal you, to coach you, to teach you, to have you want more for your life. All of those things that we aspire to. I really thought that was my job and I believed it to the
Oh, yeah.
core.
Yeah.
Wow, when I shattered that belief, it changed so many things in my life because let's face it, I'm going around fixing everybody in my in my relationships, in my family, whatever I could do, I'm fixing, but doesn't really work because people are only ready when they're ready, and it's not my job. But that was a big one. That was a big one.
So what did it feel like
It
when you
was
got
amazing.
yeah.
No, and it's
Awesome.
like it's really one of those euphoric feelings because it was like the biggest weight came off
Mm.
of me
Mhm.
because I believed that that was my job, to fix. And so when the realization came and that aha moment hit, and it was like I'm working on, getting rid of limiting beliefs, I'm like, holy. The
Mm.
weight lifted, the shoulders were proud again. I wasn't, drooped over, and I could physically feel it and I could mentally feel it. It just was like such a release and such a,
Right?
a burden that I felt had been lifted off of me. It was amazing.
Mhm. Well, yeah, it's pretty interesting, with regards to the fixing, people pleasing, and all that other stuff that goes with it. I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast when you interviewed me, but I was like, yeah, I've stopped chasing ambulances too, Carrie. Hmm.
I know we laugh and giggle now, but man,
I know, right? Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, there goes an ambulance. Go, Collie, go, Just, get it run and see if you can get inside that ambulance and do a better job than the paramedics or the driver or even the hospital when the doctors it's just like, get over yourself, kid. I'm talking about getting over myself here. It's
oh no, I
just
know. We're like you get entrenched into those beliefs, and
oh, yeah.
I mean, they just
Yeah,
shape everything about you, your
exactly.
actions and everything that happens. So,
Exactly. I was gonna ask you, with divorce and, even death of a mother, because I've been through it at a very young age,
mhm,
and it can feel, you know, like a divorce and death. They're sort of the same thing, and you had a
mhm.
double whammy at the same time. So how did you begin to trust your own inner wisdom after experiencing that?
Yeah, I've since I've been a kid, I've been a very, very intuitive person.
Mhm.
Very intuitive. And I always had a knowing that there was a higher purpose, destiny. Like I've felt that and I've known it, even though my logical brain would try to convince me otherwise.
Right.
So going through those, the divorce and the death, I knew that there was a reason for it. And I knew that it was destined to be that way. And so I think that's where my trust level finally started to increase because I had nothing else but to trust. There was
Okay.
there was nothing left, right?
Mhm.
It's like it's all gone. My foundation is gone
Right.
in terms of where I was at my life. And so I had to trust in a higher power and turn it over and just say, this is the way it's supposed to be. And when I talk about, being grateful for things, this is the part I'm referencing here where when my mom passed and when the divorce happened, I would say it was at the perfect time.
Mhm.
And that sounds, maybe a
No,
little
yeah,
out there,
I
but
get it.
it was at the perfect time because, you know, every single one of us, my two kids, myself, and I call him my husband, we were all on a different path. And when that happened, all of our paths were allowed to be followed. Everybody
Mhm.
took their path without any restraints of where we were as a family. And
Right.
the other part of it is, my mom so much adored, her grandchildren and especially my daughter because she was the first grandchild. And we know how that goes. That first one is definitely the favorite, even if you don't want them to be, they are. And
Mhm.
so, you know, my mom did so much living for her own life through my daughter. And
Right.
when my daughter's leaving now, it was sort of that perfect time because that path, that chapter was also closing. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
job change, it all happened all at once. And yeah, it sounds weird to say that it was the perfect time, but it really was. It really was. If there was a destiny and a time, that was it. And as tough as it was it was it was the way it was supposed to be.
Mhm. Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thinking in terms of your voice and your truth, when did you realize that your voice and your truth were worth fighting for?
Probably probably right at the beginning, right at the beginning of life. And then I would say, like, when I'm thinking back to sort of the time when things shifted is probably when I was about 7 or 8. Like, life at
Right.
home shifted, there were things that as a family we needed to encounter and to deal with, and so I think at that point I kind of lost a little bit of my voice, right? And you've got the external, right? You've got your school systems, you've got your parents, you've got your friends, you've got the norms that you're supposed to do, all of that stuff. And so
Mhm.
I kind of lost it a little bit there, probably until I was, later into the teens when I
Right.
started again exploring more of like, I love coaching. I want to do that more. I'm doing a lot more public speaking. I'm, traveling. I gained my voice back. And then, you different phases, you get into motherhood and you get a different voice. And so my voices have always been there, but they've changed too.
Mhm.
And definitely a stronger voice and a more authentic and real. Like, and maybe it's part of, being more than 25, but I just really don't have time for BS. It's like my voice is tell me the truth. Let's have a meaningful conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's be honest and real. And I was afraid to say that before. And now it's like, no, I'm not really afraid of that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I
It's
think over, yeah, different periods of time, you get different voices and different wisdom.
And so with that wisdom and I mean with your personal transformation, it had to have impacted, I mean, relationships like you with your family, friends, and community. So how did it impact?
Like the change in my voice, you mean,
Oh,
or
the whole evolution of
transformation?
the transformation,
Mm.
especially after hitting, I would say you hit rock bottom. It would be, a spiritual, to me, it's a spiritual awakening, but
Mhm.
that may not be true for you, but that's what sense. So when you were going through that transition, that transformation with everything, I mean, you come out and all of a sudden it's like you're definitely impacting people differently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did that impact these?
I think it changes. Yeah, I think it changes everything. I mean, it changes your relationship. So I
Mhm.
was in a relationship after my divorce for a number of years, and probably, wasn't the healthiest relationship, taught me a lot of things. But all that said, I mean, that relationship ended because it wasn't true to who I was. And so,
Right.
of course, that changed that decision, and that change, of course, even prior to that, when I was going through my transformation, affects your kids, right? It affected my
Mm,
kids in a very
mhm,
positive way, giving them the strength and the courage to tackle what they needed to tackle in their life and to go for their goals and dreams. It impacts a lot, it impacted my friendships. Some of my friendships are more solid than ever, and some of them have fallen to the wayside because I'm speaking who I am and I'm not faking it anymore, right? So,
right. Yep.
and it's changed my relationship with my family, because when people see you sometimes in a struggle situation, they don't know what to do. And so, now we can talk more openly about it. I've given them, I think, some inspiration and some courage to make changes, but it was all positive. It definitely gives you different insights, and it gives people permission to follow in what you're doing. And I think it's impacted my work too. I listen differently. I I lead differently, and not all of it different, but some
Mm,
different things that definitely, when you're going through a change and you make the change, I'm just stronger and just more resilient and more courageous to do some things that, need to be said or need to be done that maybe you were afraid to do before.
mhm, mhm. Absolutely. And, in there somewhere, there's always this role of forgiveness. And so, what role of, forgiveness of yourself and others, you know, played into your healing journey?
Mhm. It's a big one. It was a lot of introspection and a
Mm,
lot of looking at, honestly looking in the mirror and giving
mm,
myself affirmations of, I forgive the little girl inside me for.
mhm.
And I learned a lot of different strategies from Dr. Rose, who I've had on my show a few times. And,
Right? Mhm.
you go at it from different angles depending on the teacher, right? And
Right.
I think that to me was really important, was to forgive the little girl inside myself and to say that out loud. I would sometimes internalize it, but when I actually said it out loud, the tears were just rolling down my face because
Mm,
it was true. And so you forgive all those pieces of you that you've, let down or forgotten.
mhm.
And the same thing with people in your life, you especially hard with family. It's
Yeah.
especially hard with family because they're so close and intertwined in everything that you do as a person, and so just forgiving people, because people only can do what they can do at the time they can do it. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is, when you're ready, you'll make the changes, and people sometimes may never be ready, and
Ex
that's their journey. It's not for me to judge, it's not for me to condemn, it's for me just to accept and to take away the silver linings of the things in that cloud, that dark cloud,
Mhm.
that help you to become a better person each and every day, and to just to live in my own path and my own truth, and not get bombarded or brought down by the attachments of someone else or their expectations or their own trauma. And it's a hell of a ride, as you know, but it's a freeing experience. And I just look at it all from love. Everybody is doing the best they can with the tools they had at the time. And what can you do but love somebody, right?
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's where it is.
That's where it is. And I was thinking in terms of, there's with all that, you know, there had to have been a moment for you when you first felt the spark of empowerment, like you were truly reclaiming your life. When was that for you?
I think right, like, around the time, when we're talking about the most sort of recent episodes of reclaiming my life, because 'cause I've done this a few times.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
In the divorce, that area, that period of time, I think that was a pivotal moment when the spark was back. Like, I remember this again sounds interesting, but I remember honestly driving away from the house, and it was tears of pain and loss, but there was also tears of like, I'm back and I'm in
Mm.
the driver's seat and look over, like, look out because I'm coming.
Mhm. Mhm. Love it.
So
Yep.
it's the yin and the yang kind of a thing. It's like the loss, but you can't have both. You've got to give up in order to receive, and so some things had to change, and that's when I felt that first big spark, back, because when you're a mom and when I was still am very invested, as we all are as moms, in our children. There's different pieces, and I had lots of sparks watching them grow up and helping to mold and shape and be part of their journey, but you also have to give up some things, at least I did, and, the spark really came back when I could just say, "Hey, this part is over of my journey,
Mhm.
and that's where it's headed." So, it was a big part for sure.
Big part. And speaking of parts, I was gonna ask you, what part of your past self, right, do you honor, and what part did you have to leave behind?
Mm. I honor it all. And I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but it's true because I've spent so much time on my own, personal development and my own trainings and my own just self-reflection. I honor every single piece of me because it's who I am.
Mhm.
And I don't have to apologize for it. I don't have to fix anything about it. It's who I am, and that's what I was destined to be, and that's how I came. And so now I look at my gifts a little bit differently. I know what I've had since a kid, but you look at them now and you embrace them differently. So I think
Mhm.
that's the part where you kind of go, yeah, I'm good with all of that. And so I don't know. I'd say all of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. That's damn good. So how did your personal growth shape your passion for helping others rise?
So many things. I truly believe that that's why I was born here. Like, I know that. And I excuse me, I've had to experience a lot of things in order to have that experience, I think, to share authentically with other people. I think that's how it happened and that's why it happened. Those gifts and things that I have now, it's how I do it, and I love empowering people. I don't think that's ever changed, but now going through what I've gone through and to where I am now in my life, oh my gosh, like, I want to share that with every single woman, every single human being, is like, you can absolutely have anything, be anything, do anything you want. Like, shatter those beliefs, toss them out the window, and just live your life. Like, we it's the quote about, well, we only have one life. No, you have one life, but it's like you have 365 days every year. So what are you
Mhm.
waiting for? Like,
Mhm.
we die once, but we live as long as we're on the earth. So let's
Exactly.
let's shift that mindset. So I love that, is like empowering, especially women, because we I believe have more changes to go through. I mean, that's stating the obvious. We can bear children. We have to transform our lives all the time. But we also, as women, sometimes give up on ourselves because we put the needs of everyone else before us.
Right.
So I love that. And I also love, and I love this, is working with the young people, the kids, the teenagers, the 20 something girls. If we can give to kids the gift of
Mhm.
in themselves and of seeing that there are no limits to anything. You don't have to believe what other people believe. You don't have to conform to what people tell you. Think for yourself, create map it out. You're the master, you're the driver. Get out there and do what you want. I love that. And kids are like sponges. It
Oh, yeah.
fires me up because they don't have as many beliefs at that point that they need to shatter. But it's funny how quickly they do they
Mm,
do attach to things, right? To things
absolutely.
and ideas and all that. So I think just as human beings, if I can give that gift and share it, that fires me up. And I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. I start kind of like using my hands and I get all fired, like, let's go. And that's what
Let's
I
go.
love about, coaching sport. It's like,
Right?
here's you get, here's a masterpiece. And now you can't see it in yourself, but I can help you. I can train you. I can coach you. I can push you. And you then can soar because it's up to you at that point. So I love all that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Love all that.
Love it all. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's so great. I love it. And yeah, your energy is totally, I would say, I don't like to use the word infectious, but it's totally, there and like lifting rather than, suppressing in any way at all. Right. And so, with everything that you've been through and everything that you've built, where do you see yourself in the next chapter of your life?
Mm. Look out, people. Look out.
Okay, can you expand on that looking out? I'm looking.
I think, where I see myself is just honestly living a life of, for me, not having to worry so much about living for someone else or, having people responsible to me. Yes, I'm still responsible to my kids and all those people in your life, your family, your friends, but it's a freeing experience to be able to just look at it and say, I get to create the whole thing, which I knew, but
Mhm.
I was afraid to do it. And now I'm just not afraid anymore. It's like, I'm going to live. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to work with people. I'm going to empower people. I'll be speaking. I'll be working with you. I'm just going to be the best version of me and the most real and authentic version of me for this next chapter. Lots of travel, lots of fun, and just, you know what? Letting it all out there. Let her rip.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's
What
absolutely nothing to
are we waiting
stop.
for? What are we waiting
Exactly.
for?
Exactly. I love that song, by the way. What are we waiting for?
Oh, I
It's a
know.
great song. Cue it. Whoever. Oh, my producer. I'm the producer. Sorry. So I
I
can't
know.
cue it.
I love having like total dance parties for one. I'm a big music buff, as I
Mm,
know you are. It's like
yep.
music just is great. So
Oh,
yeah, I
for
mean,
sure. Absolutely.
let's go.
Let's go. So, what dreams and goals are calling to you now that you've stepped into this
Yeah.
space and taken, now that you're owning it, what
Yeah.
dreams and goals are calling to you?
The ones that have been there from the beginning, and I feel like I've lived some of my dreams in
Mhm.
some capacities, I have, but there's more yet to do and there's a lot of blank pages and a lot of things on the bucket list. So definitely, expanding the podcast zone. I love talking to people. I love hearing stories. I know I
Mhm.
will be doing more of that. Empowerment, whether that's workshops or, you know, conferences. I just love all that stuff. The producing, the creativity. I love events. Like they're just great. I mean, women's events that I've been to or helped organize. It's great fun. And speaking to people, whether that's, leaders or women or different groups, farmers maybe. I don't know. I just know that I've been speaking since I was a young kid. I mean, I used to do oratory competitions and if there was an MC role, that was me. And, oh, you need this done. Okay. And I do that as a principal, but
Mm,
because I love it, I really love the energy of live when you're in the energy of people and when you can see the light bulbs go on, whether you're talking
mm,
or you're at a workshop, like when I'm in the classroom, when I go back and visit classes now and get in there, I mean, those are the moments that are so powerful is when you've got that connection, you've got that heart to heart, you've got that eye contact, you've got a shift in the energy, you've inspired someone or you've had a heart to heart talk or you've had to deal and say, hey, you can do better. I just love that part of it, and I see that definitely, and heck, a lot of travel and just a lot of fun. Like, I just love to have a good time, a good laugh, and I don't know, maybe there's a comedy tour or something. I got a few facial expressions I can whip out here and there.
I love it. Well, when I have video down the road on a podcast, could be quite a while, but it's coming. I'll have you back on, and we'll get you doing some of those.
Oh
those
my gosh. And
I know,
I just
right?
yeah, and I just like I really see a lot of collaboration. Like I think as women and just again, I'm using the term human beings because I hate to limit it only
Mhm.
to women, but and not only, but the point is just collaborating with people. There's so much wisdom in the collective. You know, just opening your mind and my mind to different ways of collaborating, different things we could do, and just not putting a limit or a plan on it and just letting it flow. So,
Absolutely,
mhm.
absolutely. And in your, wildest imagination, right? And if you imagine your highest, and I'm talking your highest, most fully expressed self, what is she doing? And I know you've alluded to that in some way, but I'm going higher here. I'm going beyond, I want to take you a little higher here with regards to the highest, most fully expressed self. What is she doing? How are you showing up in the world?
Yeah, with sparkle.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's a crown or 2 laying around that I can no, I honestly, I just like my energy, just sharing my energy, just the sparkle, it's almost like the fairy dust, I just sprinkling that everywhere because when you are in a state of sharing love and energy with people, it is, like you said, it is infectious, and I just see myself doing that, and that
Mhm.
sounds sort of funny, but I like that, and, the that has to happen, and it will. I just feel that is so much fun, and interacting with people, and then, traveling, and also just living in the best life, living all the things that I've wanted to live, and that's more expansive, I've been in Saskatchewan my whole life. I don't know if that's where I'm gonna be forever. I love it, but, if there's a calling to something different, then that's okay too, because the
Yeah.
water has always been a draw to me, and we have great lakes here in Saskatchewan, but the ocean's a different thing, so I
Yeah, little warmer.
Yeah, yeah. Saskatchewan winters don't cut it.
Well, yeah, we could get into a whole podcast on that one, but this one's about you, not the ice that we're gonna get again tonight, It's or the broken legs and arms. It's just no, delete that. So, I wanna ask you, Carrie, there there's going to be a legacy you're gonna leave behind, and so how do you, hope to what do you hope to leave for next generation? Because I truly see you leading the leaders, you know what I mean? So,
Mm,
what legacy do you hope to leave for the next generation of leaders and change makers?
yeah. It really is, I th I believe this, it really is about stepping into your own power
Mhm,
and doing your healing work. There's always the quote, we've all referenced it before, or many of us have, "Your life is 100% your responsibility." I agree.
mhm, mhm.
But 100% of that is your healing. And and people who say, "Well, I don't have anything to heal," or I know I had a good childhood," but I call BS on that. Every single person has something or some things that have to be healed in order to create the next version of yourself.
Mhm.
And if we can, get to a place where we are healing, where we are talking about what we need to heal, where we are communicating effectively and passionately, where we're leading with love and where we're stepping truly into our authentic selves,
Right?
that is the legacy I want to leave, that we're all just human beings, that we don't need division between class, between race, between culture, between religion. I'm passionate about that because it's the truth is we're all just here walking this walk and let's do it together. And I'm also super passionate about breaking the cycles of trauma and dysfunction that happen. If we can do that, we heal our children, which heals my kids, which heals my children's children. That is where I want us to go as a race. It's like
Mhm.
is where I see it going. And breaking open the box, like, who put us in a box? Why did we get there? Let's get out.
Right. Exactly.
Let's be creative. Let's think differently than we've ever thought before. And let's be real. I'm so sick of the fake.
Mhm.
I'm so sick of the fake. And I know that sounds harsh to some people, but all the masks that people wear and, the illusions that we're under, take it off.
Yeah.
Take it
Exactly.
off
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and be real. Be who you are, because that's where the power will be in the future, I believe, is when we step into our authentic selves. That is the highest power. Love's up there, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. But if you can be who you are the most unstoppable person.
Exactly. And that's the word, right? Is unstoppable. Because why do we want to stop?
I know. And
Right?
what do we stop ourselves, which I've done that.
Exactly.
I've done
Right.
that a few times.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, putting on the brake at a stop sign is a good thing, but it's also there for a reason so that we can continue on the journey,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, as you continue to, grow and evolve, which you do and are, what parts of yourself are you still learning to embrace?
You know, probably that I just don't really fit in, and I say that quote unquote. I've never really fit into the mold. I mean, it's just not who I am, and so I still have to learn as an adult to embrace that, to embrace the
Mhm.
authenticity that I'm just talking about. Like, I'm different. Like, I'm not the same as everyone else,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that part of who I am, I just have to embrace it. I'm a person that I can be really goofy and fun like a little kid or like a adult that has fun, but I can also be, emotional and very intellectual. And so there's different sides of who Carrie is that you never know which one's showing up some days. And so I've just learned to embrace that I do have those differences, that that's just who I am and that's what makes me who I am. So yeah,
And I'm fine with that.
and I'm fine with that, it's
Exactly, right? Yeah. So we're coming to a close here. And I have one final question for you. And that's what's the biggest, and I'm talking biggest, message you want to share with the world? And one that, the one where it's the truth that lights your flippin' soul on fire, girl.
oh, honestly, there are several, like there are so many, and I'm gonna probably flounder trying to think of the one that's popping out right now, but I believe it's a quote actually, and I don't know if it's Marianne Williamson or not. I think it is, but it's this one about our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Mm, yeah.
That's it. That's it. We are so powerful. If we tune in, if we trust our gut, we trust our wisdom, we listen, we are so powerful. We can create anything. We totally can. And we let fear sometimes ride us in directions we don't want to be driven. And that happened to me more than once. And I know it's happened to listeners of yours. That's why we're doing what we're doing, because we're sharing our wisdom of our life experiences, but our deepest, deepest desire to know that we are powerful beyond measure.
Awesome. And it's so, so, so true. It's the biggest red light for so many people, right?
Hmm.
So, with you, your podcast, your, you know, getting out there and leading the leaders, which, and those leaders of tomorrow, which are youth and, so many others that, your children, you know, uh, there's so many people that, you have already impacted thousands. And, it just is going to continue. And that is the biggest thing I think, when you say about it being the fear factor, right? Because
Mhm.
it is the biggest red light for so many people.
Oh,
And so, if you get out there, girl, and you get that red light to turn green, oh my God, you go for it. 'Cause
I'll be
I
going.
you go for it because I believe that's what you're going to be doing is turning all those city lights are gonna be red and going green, and it's all gonna be you behind it.
What's the Journey song, right? And just a
Don't stop believing.
Don't Stop Believing, and there's
Yep.
another song, I don't know who sings it right now, I should know, but, just a small town girl in the city lights,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
best is yet to come, so
Yeah. There you go. We nailed it.
please,
Love it.
no karaoke yet.
No karaoke. No, not tonight. But, when I get the video going, we'll have you back with the impressions on expressions and some karaoke. It's all good. Oh my gosh. I just can't thank you enough. I'm so excited to share you with my audience, which is now your audience. And I so admire, love, cherish. I just I can't talk anymore because I'll cry. And
Mm,
I have to be professional here, I think. But anyway, my audience knows me by now. And so, Karey, it's an honor. And, in family constellations, not is it just an honor, but I bow to you and before you and to the greatness of which you are and that you will continue to be and deliver to the entire world that needs you stopping those red lights from being red and turning green. And I'm going to leave that visual with people because I want them to remember you out there switching the lights from red to green and just go for it. So thank you
oh.
so much, darling.
Oh, I can't thank you enough. I think when I had you on the podcast, I got teared up, but you know, you're such an inspiration and I just can't thank you enough for, sharing this time with me and just getting raw and real, but just being who you are. You've inspired me. You've been such a mentor and a person always there for me. And you have so many gifts and talents that I've always just loved. And today was so much fun on top of,
Yeah.
such great conversation. But I really know and I trust that the people that need to hear it will. And this will not be the last conversation you
No,
have.
no, it won't. We got things to do and places to go. And you know what? The ice in the ruts won't stop us.
No, 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 they won't.
No, they won't.
No, love you so
Oh,
much.
I love you so much. Shine on, girl.
I will,
Shine
and I'll
on.
have the crown ready.
Okay, you get it. And I got the sprinkles for you. So it's all good. All right. We will talk soon. I love you, love you, love you.
Love you.
Soul
Thank you
hugs,
so
sweetie.
much. Yeah.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.